Okay ladies, other ideas using up your old jeans or buying jeans for $2 to $5 from the op shop is making a little wall hanging. And you know how I said these little tags were kind of handy? Well, if you actually cut your jeans, the back of your jeans, you can use the back pockets here as part of a wall hanging. And then you can use a different pair of jeans or the legs of jeans or parts of other jeans, and you can use your front pockets for storage for things in your sewing room. So you can have rows and rows of pockets if you like, and you can use this hanger and you can simply put a dowel through here and hang it on your wall. Now this one has got some needle dacron inside it so that it's going to hang really nice on the wall, and you can use the pockets to put all your bits and pieces on. Then you can start titivating it, and this one we've started with a bit of fringe and we can do some fancy stitches on there now. So it's a nice easy way. You've got the notes, or I'll be sending you the notes, and you can make yourself a little wall hanging. Could be a really fun thing for a kid's room, and you could decorate it however you like. And if you're not wanting a wall hanging, you can simply make a really cool denim bag out of your jeans, your old jeans. So if you're going to buy a pair to make this, you don't want to buy a too big a size, or else they'll be very wide at the top. But it's no problem if you do, because you can just use a fabric tie and pull in your bag. And this one, we've used a nice bright lining fabric, a cotton, to line our bag, and then the same cotton fabric has been used to tie our bag, which I'll show you in a minute. And then it has fringing, the bobble fringing in the bottom, and it's just started to have a few decorations on it, and this one's got buttons. So you can do a lot of fun with jeans. Now to make your bag like this, all you want to do to start off with is to get your jeans, and you are going to undo the front of your jeans here, and you're going to move it over. So you undo the front seam, and I'm now going to show you here, and you flatten out your jeans and then cut off the legs. So this one's been opened, flattened out, and then you just top stitch it down. And so that's how you get the front of your jean bag made. Very easy. So this is your leg seam, you've just opened it and flattened it and top stitched it, and the same on the back. So you open it out and you flatten it, and then you can chop this off. Now when you're going to be doing your pattern for your lining, before you do another thing, just cut it out the same size as your jeans here. And if you want to, I'll turn it all in. If you want to, you can simply just seam it, line it up, put it together and straight stitch across there. But if you want to make your bag bigger in the base, you can cut all of that off, and you can actually insert a whole oval of fabric in here. So you need to decide the size of the bag you want and the type of bag you want. So it makes it quite easy whichever way you go. So this is what it looks like on the inside, and here's the part of our jean that we've opened up and top stitched, and now we can actually cut that back. Okay, so you can do double top stitching, you can do single top stitching, and it's not going to go anywhere else. Now I've started to make it a little bit prettier, so I'm using what used to be our Holly Hobby fabric, and I cut out my original pocket and I've put a fabric in there. So I've changed the look already, and then all I've done here is I've cut out a patch, and I've simply just going to fringe this around. So I've stitched about 1 centimetre in, and then I'll just fringe this all out, and that will be a patch on my jeans. So you can start playing around and titivating it and making it your own. Now when you want to do a tie for your jeans bag, all you do is you cut your fabric about 4 inches, or you join your fabrics together depending on how wide you want to make your tie, and you just put your right side together. If it's a fold, you'll fold it in half, but what you want to do is when you come up to the point, you want to sew it on an angle because it makes it more interesting. And then you're going to sew all the way down the other side, and you're going to leave an opening. So I'm just going to show you here. I'll just put it back onto straight sewing, and you sew down, that's straight sewing, and stitch, and then back stitch, and leave an opening to pull it through. Now what I do is when I'm doing this is I make sure I have my loop turner on hand. So these were 2 separate fabrics. So I'm showing you with 2 separate fabrics, but this could be the fold of 4 inches of fabric, whichever you like. Now you just hold it like that. You get your loop turner, put your loop turner up through your fabric, and I'm going to just put my fabric into my hook. Use my fingernail to hook it in, hopefully. There it is. Can you see my hook is protruding out my fabric? And then I just keep my tension on, and remember I do that by just pulling it on my sewing machine. So once you start pulling it through and get your tension through, you can pull that all the way along. And by having it sitting there, it's so much easier because I can just pull it out like that. Right, then I can use this to push out my point. And I can just push that out like that. So it's quite a nifty little idea. Give that a press, and then you can just get your iron, press it all with your iron, roll in your seam, and you can top stitch that closed. I won't top stitch it with bright blue, I'll probably get some white. I licked my fingers and rolled it to get my seams out. Make sure you're doing it on something of your own, somebody else might not like that. Tuck your little tails in and top stitch it, and you've got a really cool little tie. And that will go through here, and you can see already how you're changing a plain bit of fabric into a really cool little bag. And these jeans were quite wide, so I'll be pulling it in with my tie. I reckon it's cool. And bring it round to the front. It can come back a bit longer. Bring that to there. Oh, have I done the side one? Yep, done the side one. And then pull it in, and then you'll use this to tie your bag up. So it's quite cute and quite fun. So I haven't decided what I'm going to put in the base yet, whether I'm going to put fabric in there and make it a big wide base like that, or whether I'm going to stitch straight across there. So you can decide on your fabric handles. Now what we've used for our bag here is we've used our nylon webbing. So nylon webbing is lovely and strong, but you can just make handles out of your denim. If you're going to use nylon webbing, remember you have to burn it with matches or with a lighter so that it doesn't fray. So have a little bit of fun, have a little bit of a play. It is not hard, and your lining is just exactly the same size as your bag, and you're basically just making it whatever shape you've made your outside bag, you're making your lining. And of course, if you want to, you can add pockets to this lining before you sew it in to your bag. Now I'm going to show you another bag, and this is a bag that I made up myself, and I have used it out of a fabulous new fabric that we have. So this fabric is a polyester fabric that has got a little bit of stretch in it, and with this fabric I have used it with a product that we sell called Soft and Stable. Now this Soft and Stable is a foam like wadding, and it's sold for bags. It is beautiful because you can crush it all up and it will remember. It has a memory on it, so you can't damage it. So it's going to be very long lasting for your bag. So I wanted to make a bag that was very easy for me to get into. So what I've done is I've got a bit of soft and stable in my handles, but I wanted my bag to stand up. So soft and stable is brilliant, but I've actually used a different product on the base called Fast Diffuse, and it's a very, very thick product, and it's made it nice and stiff in the base instead of soft. So then I decided I would put zips in the top so I could get into it, but sometimes I find that still hard to find my bits and pieces. So I've put zips on the side, this side, and I've put zips in this side. So now I can open my bag completely up. On this side of my bag, I have put a double plastic of our clear glass fabric as my pockets, because I want a bag that I can put all my papers in and my books. However, I'm going to do another design feature, and I'm going to unpick along here, and I'm going to stitch a tab so that the tab comes over and velcros here, just so these papers can't fall out. And then on this side of my bag, this opens right down, by the way, I'll take that out because it will fall. On this side of the bag, I've put a pocket in because I had spare fabric. I've put a place for my pens, and then inside my pocket I've made another bag because I had fabric left over. And you can see I've just done some little extras with blue so it matches all in. And this is how easy it was. I'll unpick that. Made my outside of my bag, made my inside of my bag, and then I'm just simply top stitching this closed. So everything was sewed in one action, and then I'm just top stitching this closed. So it made it very, very easy to make a bag. So I am putting notes together, ladies, so don't worry, you'll be able to make this bag if you want to. So it's a very, very easy bag, and it's a nice big bag to get all my papers in. So that's my bag that I've been designing. Pop that there. Oh, and I've been adding jewels. You've got to have a bit of bling. So I've started to add jewels to it. Now it does look quite 3D-ish. Now the reason why it looks so 3D-ish, is because when I put the fabric onto the Fast Diffuse, I've quilted it. So by quilting it and quilting in the eyes, it's made it quite 3D-ish. It's quite fun. So I made this little bag out of my scraps, and on the back I'd run out, so I used a black velvet, and then I didn't have any fabric at home to line it, and it was a weekend, and so I used my dress fabric that I'm wearing, and that's the lining of my bag. So I won't be wearing my bag with this dress. It's a little bit too much colour, but it's quite a fun little purse to have. And then I had a little tiny bit left over, so I've made a little tiny purse. That's not going to stay, is it? I've made a little tiny purse to put my coins in. So it's a really, really neat little purse. And then I can put my coins in there. And I can also hang that on my little dog clip I've put on my bag. So it can hang on there, so I won't ever lose it. And it's quite a good size that you could hang it on your key ring as well. So if you're going into town and needed to take some coins, you've got a little purse. So I'm going to show you how to make that today, because it's a really, really neat size. So the first thing you want to do is you want to get a 15 centimetre zip. So that's what you want to have to make this little purse. And I found a lid that would be about the right size. So your lid or your circle needs to be smaller than your zip. Okay? So that's going to be my pattern. Then I have got my iron on, hopefully, yep. And then I've got some interfacing that is muslin interfacing. And I use this because it's nice and light. It has a shiny side on one side. That's the side you iron down. So I'm going to cut a piece of that, and I'm going to iron it onto the back, and I'm going to make a silk purse. So I'm not going to do a denim one, we're going to do silk. So I've got a bit of silk here. So I'm going to iron this onto the back of my silk fabric. It's not exactly the right size, is it? We'll make it fit. And remember, if you haven't got it the right size, don't panic, you can patch your interfacing, it's no problem. So if this wasn't big enough, I could just simply turn this piece, if I wanted to cover in that whole piece, and patch it and make it fit. There is no way you need to waste anything. You can just patch it up. So you can find the right and wrong side of your fabric, and you're just going to iron that on here. So I'll just quickly iron that. And with the muslin interfacing, it is very, very good to use for all your garment sewing. So I've used the muslin interfacing in my facing of my dress, and it just washes and washes and washes really, really well. And this is what it looks like when you've fused it on. So it's nice, and it's not too harsh, so it's never going to go crinkly, and it will just become the fabric. It's brilliant. So you can see my patching, I do that all the time. So I'm going to now draw around it. I'll do it on the right side so you can see it. I'm going to draw around my circle, and I make life really, really easy. Again, we're not going to cut the other two halves into half circles, going to make it easier. So I'm now going to cut around my circle. And then I'm going to show you how to make this quick, easy purse. So now I need another tiny little bit of this fabric to make a hanger. So there's my circle, and I'm going to fold that in half. I'll go that way so you can see it. Fold that in half, and I'm going to put a pin at one end, there, and I'm going to put a pin at the other end, here. Now, I want 2 half circles bigger than that to put my zip on. But instead of half circles, I make it easier and I use rectangles. So I fold my excess fabric in half, like that, and I sit my fabric on top, and as long as it's bigger than my half circle, I'm just going to straighten it up. I'm just going to cut that and have 2 rectangles, because this makes it so easy. So I've got my circle and I've got my 2 rectangles. Go that way. So now I'm just going to lay my zip down on one of my rectangles, and I'm going to put on my zip foot. You will not believe how easy this is. It's crazy. I saw this idea on Pinterest, but it wasn't a purse. It was for your earplugs. And I thought, no, this is a good idea, but they had done it with half circles, but I always make things easier. So you just simply right side to right side, needle position to the left, and you're just going to stitch down one side, and you're going to turn over your zip, and you're going to press it and top stitch it. So I'm now going to iron that. And remember, you're working with a nylon zip, so don't have your iron too hot. And to top stitch it, all I do is put my zip foot against my folded edge, and I lengthen my stitch out to 3. So I'm top stitching it on 3 length. And you should be able to see that because I've done it in a dark blue thread. So my zip ends up here, my end of my zip's there, so I'm not having to worry about moving anything. Now you simply get your other piece of fabric and you line that up, oops, around this way, line that up, turn it over, and you're going to top stitch it. So put your needle position back to standard sewing, and it's so easy, it's crazy. Line that up. Very, very simple. So I thought the idea was great, but I just wanted it to be a little purse. Turn that over, press it, and top stitch. Nice and easy. And then top stitch that. So again, lengthening my stitch length out to 3. There we are, and top stitch. So now can you see why I didn't cut half circles? Because my job wouldn't have been so easy. So now I'm going to cut this. Well, I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to sew it into a circle before I cut it. But what I need first is I need a little tag to hang my D-ring off. So I'm going to get a piece of fabric. No, I'm going to get a piece of this fabric, a slightly different colour, but that's all right. And I'm going to cut a strip about 1 inch long, inch wide. That's all right. And I'm just going to put my right side together, use my same foot, and straight stitch down here. Yep. Make sure it's actually going to stitch. Started too close to the edge. And reverse and stitch down. And I'm just using a scrap, so it really doesn't matter. Get my trusty loop turner. Put my loop turner through the end. Do not trim off your seam. A lot of people trim off their seam, but then they've got nothing inside their little loop that they've made. So you've got to be a little bit careful, whoops, not to trim off that seam. So I always say to people, be a bit careful about trimming off that seam. You can actually overdo it. So you just roll this along. Once you start, you can kind of feel it take. So just wiggle your fingers till you feel it. Lick and spit does wonders to grip things. Pull it through. I always have that on the side of my machine. And then just get a little tiny D-ring, thread it through your fabric and fold it in half, and you only need a really tiny tag, so cut off the excess and use it for another one. Now this little hanger is going to go on the top part of my circle that my zip's going to end at. So I'm now going to stitch that piece on. Alright, so you just put it under the machine and you stitch that down, and again I'm just using the zip foot still. Okay, so I'm just going to go forward and reverse so it's nice and strong. Now what I do is I now line my tag up with my zip. So I'm going to line up my tag with my zip, and I'm going to put a pin on the right side. Your right, my left. To hold it, this bottom pin I'm going to line up with the bottom of my zip. Can you see that? I'm lining up this pin with the bottom of my zip, and I'm putting a pin in there. Now you need to undo your zip. So I'm going to undo my zip and roll it down so I can get into it when I've stitched it. So now I need to turn this over and butt my two bits of zip together and just stitch it at the top to hold it, but you're not worrying about it right now, you're just holding it together. You don't worry about stitching the rest of it. You just want to hold your zip. Remember, it's nylon, you're not going to break anything. Now, take your pin out and take this pin out, put it on the right side. Now, I've got my zip. Remember to open your zip. Now I just sew round in a circle, and I've saved the stress because it's going to be so easy. Because I'm not having to line up half circles that move because they're on the bias. So now I just go forward and reverse, put my stitch length down to 2 so it's nice and strong, simply sew right around your circle, and because you've interfaced it, you really don't need to line it. So it makes a very quick, easy purse. I really like them. So whip around here, and when you're finished you can cut it off. But I don't cut it off yet. I don't want my zip to break. So I stitch it, I take my work out, I put on my ordinary sewing foot, I put my machine back to zigzag, and I zigzag around my raw edges. So I don't use my overlock stitch, ladies. I just use a standard 3 width and 1.5 length zigzag. My zip will not undo because I've stitched around it a couple of times. Go all the way around your little purse. And there you have the cutest little purse ever. Trim it back to your zigzag. It will not fray, even though it's silk, because you've done 2 wonderful things. One, you've interfaced it to make it nice and firm, and the second thing is you have made sure it's nice and strong and you've zigzagged it. So you just simply go around, trim it all back. Now these are a really, really nice gift, and one of the ladies said they're really, really good for you to store your USB sticks in because they're quite tiny and you'd be able to hang them up with your little hanger. Now just pull your fabric through to the right side. It's tiny, and once you've got it through, then you can just zip up your zip. Just push it all out like that. Make sure you've got any threads that are hanging cut like so, and just work your thumb around and you'll have a nice round circle. Do not clip that circle before you do it. Now the idea of this also is that hanger is so much easier to hold on to and to hang things from. So there you have a cute little purse, and you can hang that onto your key rings or hang it onto your bag. So here's another one that I made, a silver one, and I put a dark coloured zip in it. And here's one that I made, and instead of using my fabric for a hanger, I've used a bit of velvet ribbon, and I've used 2 different colours. So I've got 2 different colours of my silk, but they're beautiful. They're really, really nice, and they're really, really easy to make and lovely for a gift. So there you go, girls. I think that's going to keep you busy sewing for the next month. Just to let you know, if you didn't already know, we are celebrating 45 years in business this month, and well, this last week actually. So it's quite a milestone for our store, and very proud to still be here and proud to be loving it every day. So thank you for Banana Club, and I will see you next month.